Hello, boys and girls. Today we're going to be talking about a very important concept called compare and contrast. This is in our Unit 4 ELA folder in Schoology. Why do we need to learn this? Well, this strategy will help us become better readers. When we read new texts and stories, we can make connections to previous ones that we have already read. We can look closely at details from stories to help us read more difficult texts. So some of you always ask me, well, why do we need to learn this? It's because it's going to help us become a better reader. So today we're going to focus on how do I compare and contrast stories. Before we get started, we must first understand some key vocabulary terms. Compare, contrast, and then also a term Venn diagram. This is a type of diagram that we're going to see a lot in these activities. Now, let's get started. To compare means that you are identifying similarities between them. In other words, you are describing how they are the same. Look closely at these two pictures. They're very cute. For example, when we compare these two pictures, we find that they have similarities. Number 1, these animals are both dogs. Number 2, they both have collars around their necks. Number 3, they both have fur and ears. And number 4, they have 4 legs and 4 paws. This is how these two dogs are the same. Remember, compare means the same. Now, the word contrast is the opposite. When you contrast things, you are identifying differences between them. You tell how the two items are different. If we look at the same two images, we can now identify how they are different from one another. Look closely at these pictures again. Number 1, one dog is light brown and the other is dark brown. Number 2, one dog is running and the other is sitting down. Number 3, one dog is outside on grass and the other is inside sitting on carpet. Once again, when we contrast things, we're telling how they are different. We just listed ways that these two dogs are different. Now, our next vocabulary term is called a Venn diagram. And it's basically just a really fancy way of saying that we're going to use a graphic organizer to help us put our thoughts on paper in an organized way. When we compare and contrast stories and characters, we use this type of diagram. It's not so important that you remember the name, but it is important that you remember how to correctly fill them out. Inside, where the two circles overlap, we will write the similarities between the two stories. Then, on either side of the circles by themselves, we will write the differences, or how they're different. That's where we will contrast. Now you're going to have time to practice comparing and contrasting two stories. You're going to be reading the story The Lorax by Dr. Seuss, and you're going to also listen and read the story The Great Kapok Tree by Lynn Cherry. Then, once you're done, you're going to see something similar to this in a Google drawing. I will walk you through how you are going to add text and in which space you need to add it. But this is similar to the diagram you're going to see. Now, when we go into our course in Schoology, you're going to locate this activity by going to Unit 4, Compare and Contrast. You're going to click on the red folder for reading skills, and you're going to click on the second assignment, Kapok Tree and Lorax. When you open it, it's going to look like this. Remember, our directions are always posted in red, and then when it's your turn to get started on the assignment, it's always posted in green. You are first going to watch the two videos posted below. We have the story The Great Kapok Tree, then we have the story The Lorax that I mentioned earlier. Listen carefully to the stories. You can always go back and revisit the stories, but you're going to need to remember details from the two stories. When you are done, you're going to work with a Venn diagram in Google to compare and contrast these two stories. The image below is what the diagram will look like. To get to your assignment, you will click on Your Assignment, it will take you to something that looks like this. I will then help you and show you how to add text into the diagram. We have done it before in the past with Google Drawings, but I will walk you through it again. When you are finished, you will submit your assignment and I will get to see it. Okay, boys and girls, good luck.